Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking the best clubs and great clubs in Baldur's Gate 3 on a tier list. Now, I'm talking clubs as in the weapons and not like the Elf Song Tavern here, so I'll be ranking them all, starting off with the clubs and then moving on into the great clubs. So clubs deal 1d4 of damage and they're a simple weapon, and then great clubs deal 1d8 of damage, also being a simple weapon. There's some interesting interactions with some of these which I'll be covering in this video, and we're just starting off here with the regular old club, and yeah, obviously just roleplay tier, but the next one has some interesting uses. So there's a few different types of torches. There's the plague green torch, the cemetery blue torch, regular torches. Now, one thing that's cool about torches is if you're a druid, you can, or a nature cleric, you can use shillelagh or shillelagh, however you want to pronounce it, and you can imbue it to make it do 4 to 11 damage. In addition, it keeps the fire damage. So these become probably the best source of damage early on in the game. So yeah, the torches are much better than you thought they were. And for that, I'd probably put it about the B tier. A 1d8 of regular old damage and then 1d8 of fire damage. But again, if you imbue it with shillelagh, it gets some extra damage. So that's really great. Now, we got ourselves the best weapon in the game here, the Salami. So this does 1d8 damage, and you can also eat it. What other weapon in the game can you eat? That's easy. The S tier actually stands for sausage tier. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but yeah, we're putting it up in the S tier. In all realism, it's probably like a roleplay tier, and it's a pretty interesting weapon. So yeah, I am just going to put in the roleplay tier. Someone probably get upset if I put it in the S tier. But next we got Club +1. So this isn't actually that great at all. It just does 1d4 of damage +1. It has the magical enhancement, which is nice. You can find this in Act 2 in the Rythwin Toll House, where there's a lot of other club-like weapons, including like the Moon Lanterns, which I'll be getting to. So this one is really not that amazing. A 1d4 +1 is okay. You're better off using other weapons. So yeah, just going in the C tier. There's also a broken club, a whipping cane, twisting branch, but these all I'll consider the same thing as just a regular club. I just don't want to take up too much time in the video, so they're all roleplay tier as well. But now we have one that's extremely good early on in the game. This is the Club of Hill Giant Strength. So what this does is it sets your strength to 19, which effectively is an 18 strength. Not like, I mean, obviously that's incredible because you can dump your strength, and you can even use this in the offhand because this is a light weapon. So that's a beautiful thing about this. And you can find this in the Arcane Tower in Act 1, and you have to break the stool of Hill Giant Strength to get this. So break the stool, and it's on the highest floor right next to Bernard. So you have to give him a hug. You can go and get yourself your own club giant. Hill Giant Club. So yeah, I highly recommend grabbing this. Originally it only set your strength to 15, but they changed it to 19, which is incredible. I have to put this in the S tier. This is the best club, just for purposes of being able to dump stats, because you'll have a high strength while using this, and you can use that to, if you're a monk, you can jump further, you can deal more damage with your punches, especially if you have Tavern Brawler at like level 4. So it's actually pretty good. So easy S tier, but yeah, it is. You have to break up the stool. It's in the Arcane Tower. Next we got the Ironwood Club. Now this is interesting because when you use shillelagh on it, or shillelagh, again, people correct me on the pronunciation. There's 2 pronunciations of that word. It grants Ironwood Harmony, which gives you an additional 1d4 of bludgeoning damage. So this will deal the 4 to 11 damage plus a 1d4 of damage. That's pretty good. It's up there. I would say kind of similar to a torch. It's best if you use shillelagh on it. But actually, it has a +1, so it is a slight bit better, especially if you're going against skeletons who are weak to bludgeoning damage. So yeah, it's a good choice for damage early on. Now we have 2 different Moon Lanterns here and a torch. These are all very good weapons. So the first one being the Shadow Lantern. So this one you can find in Act 2. It's in Moonrise Towers. It's in Balthazar's Hidden Room, and you have to have Gale to get some cool interactions with it. So there's 2 different things. You can get Mystra's Benevolence, or you can get the ability to cast the Shadow Wrath spell. So with this, the unique Conjure Shadow Lantern Wrath spell. So with Gale, you have to have Gale in the party interact with the protruding book that's in Balthazar's room. Then you got to go take a heart, put it into the little machine there, and then you'll have some unique dialogue. Make sure you do have Gale in the party, and make sure you interact with this as Gale. And then you can combine a dead pixie with a broken Moon Lantern, it makes a Shadow Wrath. Also, there is another way you can go about doing this. So you can get Gale to destroy the ritual instead, which will give him Mistra's Benevolence, which is advantage on concentration checks until next long rest. I wish it was advantage on concentration checks forever, because that'd be incredible. A little bit too overpowered, though, obviously. But yeah, advantage on concentration checks until next long rest, so go take advantage of that. Don't let your player destroy the circle. It has to be Gale. But yeah, you get the ability to summon in the Shadow Lantern Wrath, which is a level 5 enemy, or I guess a teammate. It has 24 health. It's not super strong, but it does a bit of damage, and it's nice to have any extra summons in the game. So this is a pretty decent one to go with, but I would have to say it's probably about A tier. Yeah, I don't know if the Club Giant strength is just so good. This one is pretty solid as well. And yeah, this is one that only deals 1d4 of damage, so you're not going to use it as a weapon often. But you could use it to summon in the Shadow Wrath. So next we got the Torch of Revocation. Now, this you get pretty late in the Act 3. This is from the Mystic Carrion, and this is the only weapon in the game that deals 2 damage types. It deals, or I guess 3 if you want to get technical, it does bludgeoning 1d4, 1d4 necrotic, and a 1d4 of fire. This can also be, you can use your Shillelagh on it to get that extra, change it to a 4 to 11 damage, and then also on top of that it has the 1d4 of necrotic and fire. So pretty good, not gonna lie. The Free the Artist questline does require this, so I'll put it in the S tier just because it's the only damage, or it's the only weapon that can deal 2 damage types. It's a simple weapon, and it's cool. It's got multiple damage types to it, which is pretty unique. It also is a +1 enhancement, which is, there's not many +1 enhancements on this list, so yeah. And finally, we got the Moon Lantern. Now, this one, this is kind of required in the game. Not one you're going to use as a weapon. This you would equip as your little lantern slot, because this will give you the ability to walk out in the Shadowlands. Now, you also have the ability to free the Pixie Dolly thrice. Dolly, Dolly, Dolly. And then if you free her, she'll give you the Pixie Blessing. The Dark Urge has some interesting moments here. But yeah, I would recommend taking freeing Dolly Dolly Dolly, because then you can get the free boost there. I'm just going to put in the B tier because you're not going to use this as a weapon, but it's pretty essential to Act 2 if you want to explore the area a little bit further. So yeah, I'll put it in the B tier. But now we're getting into Great Clubs. And the first one's just a regular old 1d8 of damage Great Club. Two-handed though, so that's another thing you got to keep in mind. There's some cool Great Clubs though. I'm holding one of them right now. It also has tenacity, so you can use your reaction to deal damage equal to your strength modifier. So if you miss with this, you can still hit with it. But again, these are all two-handed. So next we got the Argument Solver. So this one on hit deals extra poison damage equal to your proficiency bonus, so either 2, 3, or 4, and surrounds a target in a noxious cloud that potentially poisons the target. And when they're poisoned, they have disadvantage on attack rolls, which is pretty good. But yeah, this weapon is okay at best. You'll end up hitting yourself in the poison clouds sometimes. I would say it's probably about B tier. Not the worst club in the game. The Argument Solver, it has the, I guess the Poison Mist skill is what does the poison there. So yeah, it's all right, I would say. Probably somewhere around B tier. Not the best weapon in the game, but again, not terrible. Next, we got the Rat Bat. Now, this is a cool one because it deals 1d8 +1 plus 1d6 damage. The 1d8 is bludgeoning damage, and the 1d6 is piercing damage. And then it also has attack rolls against beasts have advantage. So this is pretty good. Actually, quite a bit of damage for a simple weapon. I might just put it up high A tier. We'll put it at 8, top of the A tier. Advantage on beasts is nice because there's a lot of beasts in the game. 1d8 +1 plus 1d6 is pretty solid damage too overall. So yeah, it's not bad. There's better weapons again. And then finally we got Great Club +1, which is just 1d8 +1. C tier. And finally the Punch Drunk Bastard, which is what I was holding off here. This one's cool because the benefit is when you're drunk, you have advantage on attack rolls. You also create a blast with each attack, dealing 1d4 of thunder damage for 3 meters. So pretty fancy. I don't think I have any... yeah, I can't really show that off, but it does do thunder damage in a huge area, so that's pretty good. And being able to hit off thunder damage in an area, it's a fun weapon. It's not one you're going to use for really any purpose other than just role-playing purposes. But advantage on attack rolls when drunk's pretty good, honestly. And then also that Thunder Blast is good. You could probably stack up Reverberation on that too. So, yeah. It's an interesting weapon. I might just throw this in the roleplay tier though, because again, you're not going to often want to be drunk because you lose. You'll fail your dexterity checks often and charisma checks, which is kind of funny when you're drunk. You fail charisma, but yeah, that I guess this punch drunk bastard is one that you would use in the club, I guess. The Elf Song Tavern, the sponsored weapon. So yeah. That is the best clubs and great clubs in Baldur's Gate 3. There wasn't that many in this game, but I just want to rank all of them here on a tier list. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Also, let me know what kind of tier list you would like to see next. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you all in the next video.